Thank you for joining us for today's Training Institute presentation, Debt Reduction Options for Non-Custodial Parents. OCSS, the Office of Child Support Services, basically has a mission statement that says we put children first and we help both parents support their children. And this is crucial in that it is the philosophy of child support that however a child is brought into the world, whether the child was born into a loving family, perhaps married, perhaps not married, and the relationship between the parents disintegrated or deteriorated at some point in time, or perhaps the two parents hardly knew each other and the child was the product of a late night adventure of some sort. Regardless of the circumstances, we believe that it is important for both parents to support their children financially, medically, and emotionally. It's just the right thing to do. And we help both parents support their children by first locating NCPs and establishing parentage. There cannot be a child support order until parentage, also known as paternity, has been established. We then go to family court to establish the child support order. And we then go about the process of monitoring and enforcing the order or subsequent orders because there are often modifications um, over the court lifetime of a child support case. We also help non-custodial parents to find employment and avoid and manage debt. And that's really what we're going to be talking about today. A few definitions before we get started so that we have a common vocabulary. The CP is the custodial parent, the parent with whom the child spends the majority of time. The NCP is the other parent, the non-custodial parent, who pays child support to the custodial parent or possibly to uh, DSS. We'll talk about that in a minute. Current support is the amount an NCP is required to pay regularly pursuant to the court order. And arrears are unpaid child support debt that has been billed to the NCP but has not been paid. And that's the principal topic of today's presentation. As I mentioned before, the Department of Social Services is the parent agency of OCSS and also HRA, all of HRA. When the child or children on the case are receiving benefits such as CA, cash assistance, during the period the children are receiving benefits, the NCP's child support payment does not go directly to the custodial parent. Instead, it goes to the Department of Social Services to help offset the cost of the benefits that are being paid to the custodial parent and the children. If the non-custodial parent makes regular payments, there is a plus side for the custodial parent in that there is a pass-through that can be up to $100 for one child and up to $200 for two or more children if the NCP is making regular payments. That pass-through is in addition to the cash assistance budget. It's very frequent that during the long period of a child support case, there may be times when the non-custodial parent's payment is going to DSS and other times when it's going to the custodial parent, which also means it's quite possible that if there's debt on a case, arrears, unpaid child support, that some of that debt is owed to directly to the custodial parent, and some of that debt is owed to DSS. And we're going to look at that in more detail a little bit later. As I said, the life cycle of a child support case is lengthy. If, for example, a case is started when the child is 3, in New York State, the age of emancipation is 21. So that means we're going to have an 18-year relationship in all likelihood with both the NCP and the CP, whom we think of as clients. Um, as you can see, the case begins by opening a case. Child support is payable from the date that the court receives a petition to establish a child support order. It doesn't go back to the date of the birth of the child or the date the parents split up. It starts when a petition is filed for child support. And that can only be done, as I said earlier, after we establish parentage, uh, so that we know that we're dealing with the two people who brought the child into the world. Uh, we establish orders through family court. There's a single part of family court headed by the support magistrate that determines child support orders, and other parts of family court deal with other issues such as custody. The support magistrate only deals with establishing orders. We then go about collecting and distributing support. And as time passes, we may need to enforce if there's non-payment, and we may also need to modify the order to take into account changed circumstances. If the non-custodial parent changes jobs to a higher paying job, that could be grounds for an upward modification of the existing order. If the non-custodial parent loses his or her job or has their hours cut, that could be grounds for a downward modification. Now you see those two arrows at the bottom of the screen. These are the places where trouble is likely to start for the non-custodial parent in terms of racking up debt. Uh, if the order is too high, and it's intended to be manageable according to a state law, um, the NCP can start to uh, rack up debt right at the beginning of the case or during the period that the case is active. There can be circumstances that cause debt to pile up. So we're going to look at all of this in detail. Okay, so let's take a look at the question of child support and debt. Now, it's very important to realize that what we're going to talk about today applies to New York City. Child support is federally mandated, and in fact, the federal mandate is 50 years old this year. Um, and child support is state supervised, which means New York State oversees the program, maintains the database that we use to track the payments, assets, and it's locally administered. And the debt reduction programs that we're going to talk about today are programs that New York City Child Support in the 5 boroughs has the authority to administer given permission from the state. But the programs we're going to talk about are only available for people who are whose cases are based in New York City, in one of the 5 boroughs. So federally mandated, state supervised, locally administered. State policies vary significantly. There are states that are inclined to um, incarcerate people for unpaid child support debt for as little as $1,000. New York State does not take that pathway. In New York State, the only non-custodial parents who run the risk of incarceration are uh, non-custodial parents who willfully refuse to pay child support. They have the money, but they just don't want to pay their ex, and that's the kind of, and the doctor who says, "Oh, you're going to take away my driver license? I'll get a chauffeur. I'm not going to pay that no good ex of mine anything." That's the kind of NCP that we go after in New York State. Policies vary widely. Child support is state supervised. And again, the programs that we're going to talk about today are New York City cases that are based in the five boroughs, in the order having been issued by family court in one of the five boroughs. Now, we care about reducing debt for a number of reasons. We know that debt can impact mental and physical health and cause stress for families. And that impact on mental and physical health and stress is not just for the NCP. It can also affect the custodial parent and the children. And if there's debt, it can lead to non-payment of current support. The custodial parent just gives up. It can certainly lead to conflict between the custodial parent and the non-custodial parent. It can mean potentially less contact by the with the children for the non-custodial parent, and less income for custodial parents, which is particularly damaging for low-income custodial parents. So therefore, everything we can do to assist in the reduction of debt is a very important component of what we do at OCSS. Next. There is a lot of debt out there. You can see that as of December 2022, the custodial parents were owed $2.7 billion dollars in unpaid child support arrears, which is about three-quarters of the total amount that's due. The other quarter is owed to the Department of Social Services. As you're going to see in today's presentation, we have a lot more tools at our disposal to help reduce debt that's owed to the Department of Social Services. We do not have the same kind of tools to address the debt owed to the custodial parent. And we'll explain why in a minute. So, as I mentioned earlier, if the family is not receiving a benefit, the NCP's payment goes directly to the CP, and that's 100% of current child support payments, as well as 100% of debt payments that are made to the CP when the NCP is in a position to catch up. If the family is receiving a payment, the NCP's payment goes to DSS, um, and there's a pass-through in addition to the cash assistance benefit of $100 if the NCP makes regular payments, if there's one child on the case, and there's a pass-through of a maximum of $200 if there are two or more children on the case. Okay, now you can see that most of the parents that are receiving our services have low income. Um, about um, about 80% of custodial parents are either currently receiving benefits or have received benefits in the past. Only 20% have never received benefits. Non-custodial parents, um, almost two-thirds are uh, in the position of either current or former recipients of benefits. And when the non-custodial parent is receiving benefits, that results in some exemptions from various types of enforcement actions. At OCSS, we have a two-pronged approach to debt. We try to practice early intervention to prevent the accumulation of arrears in the first place. Along with ongoing intervention, we believe that most non-custodial parents want to support their children, but need support themselves to do so. And we're going to talk about some of the support uh, options that are available. And early intervention coupled with ongoing intervention uh, makes it possible to lead to increased payments, and that's when the children benefit. So debt develops either because there are high orders and or arrears. If the NCP fails to appear at the family court hearing, the support magistrate may issue a default order. And generally, the default order will be pretty substantial. Uh, since the NCP did not appear, the court does not know what the NCP's actual income is. So it tends to set a high default order, in part to pressure the NCP into coming into court to present an accurate income statement. Also, when circumstances change, if the NCP does not notify uh, child support and or return to court when their circumstances change, then the um, uh, case keeps charging as if the circumstances had not changed, and that can, in many instances, be very detrimental to the NCP. Also, there's the matter of retroactive support and the add amount. Um, Child support is paid back to a past date, usually the date the petition was filed, as I mentioned earlier. So if it takes a year for uh, the order to be created, then there'll be a retroactive amount added to the um, support designed to cover that year. If, on the other hand, the non-custodial parent has been making payments and can document those to the court, then retroactive support may be less or not taken in or waived altogether. If there is a retroactive amount, um, then the obligation amount is increased by what we call an add amount, which is 50% of the obligation amount for money that's owed for retroactive payments or arrears. So, for example, if the obligation amount is $100 a month, and there's $600 of retroactive due, then what we will do is take 50% of 100, which is $50, um, and add that add amount to the obligation. So for a period of time, the um, payment will be $150, the obligation amount plus the add amount. Um, and if the retro amount is $600, if payments are made regularly after 12 months, 12 times 50 equals 600. So then in that case, we have a retro period where the add amount, or to eliminate the retroactivity, the add amount is in place for a year. Now, as I mentioned, it's important that the NCP participate from day one and come to court. Um, the NCP, if the NCP participates, The child support order will be aligned with income. There are protections in place for lower income non-custodial parents. And ideally, the NCP pays on time and in full, leading to better outcomes for the children. Now, I mentioned protections for low-income non-custodial parents. Um, and this depends on how much the NCP is earning, and that has to be documented to the support magistrate. There are poverty orders if the NCP is earning at or below the federal poverty level. If you look at the lower right corner of your screen, the federal poverty level for 2025, and by the way, this is adjusted annually, um, the federal poverty level is $15,650. There's also a higher uh, level called the New York State Self-Support Reserve. This is a figure that takes into account that it's more expensive to live in New York State than in other parts of the country. So the New York State Self-Support Reserve in 2025 was 21,128. So um, if the NCP is earning at or below the federal poverty level, there's a $25 or month or less charge, monthly obligation, and there can be a $500 cap on arrears. If the NCP, and that's called a poverty order, it can be a $0 order or, as you see on the screen, $25 a month. If the NCP is earning at or below the New York State Self-Support Reserve, then it's a minimum order of $50 a month. Above the self-support reserve of 21,000 and change, then the New York State Child Support Standards Act uh, is used to create a fixed percentage of income uh, as the obligation for the child support case. Now we're going to talk about preventing debt through modification and also finding a better employment opportunity. As I mentioned earlier, orders can be modified upward or downward based on when circumstances change. Either party can file a petition to modify an order, and that could come about, as we mentioned before, a new job or a raise would suggest an upward modification. Job loss or decreased income could lead to a downward modification. Incarceration um, is a factor. And if we know that the NCP has been incarcerated, that's grounds for a downward modification. Could be a sudden disability, or it could be a change in custody. And this is important because if, for example, the child in the case at a certain point in time decides to go live with the NCP instead of living with the CP, that could result in um, of filing to terminate the existing order, and perhaps there should be a new order making the former NCP now the custodial parent, and the former custodial parent now the non-custodial parent. So it can be complicated, and it's not uncommon for there to be a number of orders during the life cycle of a case, particularly if the case starts when the child is just a few years old. Okay, we also have a process where orders can be modified through a stipulation. It's called MOTS, Modified Order Through Stipulation, um, to shorten the time. And this is designed to allow the parents to discuss and come to an agreement on changing an existing child support order, doing it with our customer service staff, which allows you to uh, ask questions and the two parents can discuss with each other. Uh, Again, the goal, as is always the case, is to align orders with the NCP's income and also shorten the time in court. As I said, it's a more supportive process that ideally leads to open discussion between parents and decreases the number of default orders, so that the stipulation is worked out between the parties with the help of our customer service staff. So then there's usually one visit to family court that permits the support magistrate to review the stipulation, make sure both parties understand the stipulation and that they came to it um, as an agreement, and then the judge will adopt that stipulation and make it a new order that modifies the prior order. So, how to modify your order? You can get help from us through customer service. Now, there is a child support state helpline that you see on the screen, that 888 number. However, as I said earlier, a lot of the programs we're going to talk about today are only New York City based, and the best way to uh, learn more about them is to get in touch with our customer service, which you can do either by emailing at the address that you see on the screen. And again, we're going to send you a copy of this presentation a little later this week. Or you can visit customer service at 151 West Broadway in Lower Manhattan, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Or you can get in touch with us by mail at the address shown on the screen at Canal Street Station. Um, Now, you can also get the forms you need to file for a modification uh, by going to the link for family court forms. Uh, and you can and you can um, file those forms without the need of an attorney. Um, Not all of family court is what's known as a pro se court, but the support magistrate in child support is a pro se court. Pro se is Latin for yourself, which simply means that you, as a custodial parent or non-custodial parent, can appear in front of the support magistrate and represent yourself. You do not need to have a lawyer. So to apply for an agreement, you can email us, put agreement in the subject line, or you can visit customer service at 151 West Broadway on the fourth floor. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about employment and job training programs. We know that a lot of non-custodial parents want to support their child, but have a hard time doing it um, because of low-paying jobs. And we have a number of programs that do job placement. Um, and we're going to take a look at them briefly. They're all available to non-custodial parents, and you can learn more about all of them by clicking on the link on the right side of your screen. And again, we'll be sending the presentation to you. So let's look at some of these training programs. Next. The newest of the lot is Career Track, and it's an employment program, excuse me, for non-custodial parents who have a New York City case. It helps non-custodial parents find employment or enroll in training that can lead to good jobs. It also provides additional support such as MTA Metro cards to travel for training, one-on-one support, financial planning, career coaching, and helping the NCP um, manage to understand, typo there, sorry, helping the NCP understand and manage their child support case. You can email careertrack@hra.nyc.gov to learn more. Include your name, phone number, and the best time to reach you. Um, as I said, this is a new program. And in fact, we have one of the career navigators um, in the audience today. So a shout out to Career Track. We also have the Parent Support Program, which is a problem-solving court approach to connecting NCPs to employment services and other programs to reduce barriers to paying child support. Uh, the Parent Support Program connects NCPs to employment, job training, mediation, education, life skill classes, case management, and more. And again, this is through a problem-solving court program. Pathways to Industrial and Correction and Construction Careers, also known as PINC, focuses on building a pathway to employment in high-wage job sectors, including industrial work, transportation, and construction. There are weekly information sessions held every Wednesday from 11 a.m. to noon. And to learn more or secure a spot in an information session, you can RSVP either by scanning the QR code that you see on your screen right now, or just visiting the link pincc.nyc/info session. Text to Work sends information about new job openings directly to job seekers' cell phones, employment opportunities in a variety of fields. And it's easy to start Text to Work. You just text jobs, JOBS, to 877-877 to receive job alerts. Workforce One is a virtual career center that helps New Yorkers prepare for and connect to jobs in every sector across the 5 boroughs. And again, you can see a link at the bottom of the page that will take you to more information about Workforce One. Jobs Plus is an employment program that's offered to residents of New York City public housing. And like most of the other programs, it offers assessments, job readiness, training, job search assistance, referrals for social support, and help navigating your child support case. Now we're going to turn to reducing debt. So again, you can see the type of debt we're dealing with is a lot of money, $3.54 billion in debt. So let's take a look at what we can do. And as I said earlier, we have a lot more tools at our disposal to chip away at that 792 million that's owed to the Department of Social Services. So for money owed to DSS, we're going to talk about 4 programs this morning: Arrears Cap, Arrears Credit, Pay It Off, and the Parent Success Program. Money that's owed to the custodial parent, the only tool that's available there is mediation. Mediation between the NCP and the CP. And the reason for that is simple. We have the authority to forgive debt owed to DSS. We do not have, and should not have, the authority to forgive money owed directly to the custodial parent. Child support is not in the business of saying, oh, Mr. Smith, you owe Miss Jones $50,000, but we're going to reduce that to $10,000 because you're trying hard. No, if the money's owed to the custodial parent has to be involved in any debt reduction. Let's start by looking at the programs that are aimed at DSS debt. Arrears caps arrears at $500 during the period an NCP earns at or below the federal poverty level. And again, the federal poverty level is $15,650. To be eligible, the debt must be permanently owed to DSS, not the custodial parent, and the debt was accrued while the child was on the order receiving cash assistance, and the NCP's income was at or below the federal poverty level. For example, this can mean that while an NCP is incarcerated, they're definitely earning below the federal poverty level. And most NCPs don't need to, don't know that they need to inform child support that they are incarcerated. So we don't know that you've been incarcerated. We keep charging the same amount, but at any point, the NCP can apply for the arrears cap program, document the period at which he or she was earning at or below the federal poverty level, and that will result in the arrears for that entire period being capped at $500. So that's the arrears cap program. Arrears credit is a $5,000 annual credit when child support is paid regularly for a full year. NCPs can participate for 3 years, thereby receiving up to $15,000 in arrears credit. The eligibility, once again, the debt is permanently owed to DSS. The current child support order has to be paid fully each month for 1 year to either DSS or the CP, whoever's supposed to be paid. If there's no current order, because the child's emancipated, but there's still debt, the amount on the last child support order must be fully paid each month for a year, and the payments go directly toward the debt that's owed. So the arrears credit program can be used in conjunction with other programs. So maybe you have a child support order that you can't afford because of changed circumstances. First, get a downward modification, then apply for the arrears credit program to with that lower amount that you can pay on a regular basis and earn a $5,000 credit after 1 year of making regular child support payments. That's the arrears credit program. Pay It Off is a special once-a-year offer that allows an NCP to make a payment of $500 or more toward child support debt owed to the Department of Social Services, and will reduce your debt by doubling your payment up to the amount that you owe. So once again, the debt is must be permanently owed to DSS. Regular child support payment must be paid as well. We think that in 2026, Pay It Off will probably be held in March. Now, you may wonder, why do we think it'll be held in March? Why don't we just say it's going to be held in March? And the answer for that is we have to get permission from the state supervised, locally administered. We have to get permission from the state, which we're in the process of doing right now, to hold Pay It Off in March of 2026. So, and again, I want to stress all these programs we've talked about, arrears cap, arrears credit, Pay It Off. These are New York City programs that are available for child support cases that are based in New York City. Pay it off. As we said, you make a payment of $500 or more during the approved time period. Those dates you see on your screen are the dates from 2025, so ignore those. Um, you must include the pay it off agreement, and we will double the amount that you pay in reducing your DSS debt. Parent Success is another program. It's designed to support an NCP's well-being um, and strengthen their ability to provide for their children. In the first phase, up to $10,000 in debt can be eliminated after the NCP completes an approved substance use treatment program. Again, the debt must be permanently owed to DSS, and the NCP must complete an approved substance use treatment program. Reducing debt works. Take a look at some of these figures. The arrears cap program has reduced 292 million in debt um, from the period of about the past 15 years, helping over 14,000 non-custodial parents. Arrears credit has reduced 84 million in debt over a little shorter time period, helping over 5,500 NCPs. Pay it off has reduced 20 million in debt and helped over 4,300 NCPs. So if you think back, this reduction amounts to almost $400 million. And as we saw, the current debt that's owed to DSS is in excess of 700 million. So it's significant, the amount of debt that we've been able to reduce over the years. Now, I mentioned mediation services, and these can address child support debt owed to custodial parents. Meeting with a mediator, and we have a list of qualified mediators that we will be sending out along with the presentation. Um, Mediators can help parents come to agreements about past due child support payments, debt, future child support payments, maybe a downward modification, custody or visitation, and other things that may be causing conflicts. Maybe the CP really resents the fact that the NCP tends to call the CP at night, just as the CP is trying to put the child to bed. I'd really prefer it if you would communicate with me via email or by text rather than calling me. Oh, I didn't know that. I can do that. Um, Mediators can help deal with all kinds of agreements, including forgiveness of debt. If Miss Smith knows that Mr. Jones owes $50,000 in unpaid child support and is unlikely to ever be able to pay that full amount, if Mr. Jones were able to pay $1,000 every other month for 2 years, um, thereby paying $12,000 of that 50,000 in unpaid child support over a 2-year period, would she be willing to forgive the rest? That is Ms. Jones's decision, but it's certainly something that can be discussed during mediation. I also want to tell you about the Access HRA Child Support mobile app. You can use it to apply for child support. Both parties can use it to submit forms, and NCPs can make a payment using a credit or debit card, PayPal, or Venmo with no fee. And that's significant because a lot of payment methods charge a $3 or more fee. And if you're making payments biweekly, that's 26 fees every year. That can really add up. So you can get the app is free, um, and you can get it either by clicking on the link when we send you the presentation, or you can grab it right now using the QR code on the left-hand side of the screen. So contact us by email at that long email address. I apologize. We keep hoping they'll make it simpler, but um, again, it'll be clickable when we send you the presentation. You can visit us at the walk-in center. You can call the state, but the state helpline won't have information about the debt reduction programs we talked about today. So, but they can be helpful. Maybe you're a non-custodial parent and you're saying, well, I know I owe a lot of debt, but I don't know if I owe it to DSS or the custodial parent. You can call the New York State helpline, and after you verify that you are who you are, um, they will be able to tell you, oh, you owe X amount to the CP and Y amount to DSS. You can visit our website, uh, uh, nyc.gov/HRA OCSS, or the state website. You can visit our YouTube channel, where we have a lot of informative videos, including a recording of this presentation. And we have handbooks for the NCP and CP that are available. Family Legal Care is a very important resource. It's a nonprofit that we work with very closely. They offer free legal information and advice on New York family law and family court procedures. They have a bilingual helpline, and you can get legal information by phone, live chat, or email. There's a lot of resources available on their website, familylegalcare.org, lower left. Um, Under certain circumstances, it's possible to arrange a consultation with an attorney. Those are mostly custody issues rather than child support. And they also have tech hubs so that if you don't have computer or internet access at home, or you want to work somewhere in private, you can make an appointment with them. They have tech hubs in, I believe, 3 boroughs currently. Okay, we've come to the end of this morning's presentation.